Alright, so here's a quick summary of this event. I'm not gonna bore you with all the other stuff. I'm just gonna key in on like the important notes. So there are new 12k eggs called strange eggs, or really like dark, yeah, just 12k eggs, okay? And they hatch like poison and dark type Pokemon. And the ones that are really notable is that there's 3 new ones. There's Vullaby, Sandile, and there's Pawniard. So 3 new Generation 5 Pokemon are now hatched from these eggs. Now, the rates aren't really great, so like if you really want to go out and try, then you're more than welcome to, but you can only get them from Go Rocket Leaders. You have to beat a Go Rocket Leader and walk the 12 km to hatch it. A lot of people are getting pissed because turn your gacha off, because if you spin the stop and you have 9 eggs, you will not get a 12k egg. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you have space after you beat the Rocket Leader. So Rocket Leaders, this is from Balloons too, so Rocket Leaders from Balloons and Stops. Make sure after you beat them, you'll get a 12k egg. Be sure that you have room. Again, I'm going to remind you, be sure you have room. And the 3 Pokemon you're looking out for is Vullaby, Sandile, and Pawniard. Now, there's a few Pokemon that are probably spawning in the wild, Poison and Dark types. The one that's notable here is Stunky. Other than that, don't really worry about the rest. Along with that, there's an opportunity to get the new Shadow Pokemon. So you have Shadow, the last video I made where you have Shadow, Shadow Skarmory, Aerodactyl, and Slowpoke. Those are all out now, so you can get those. For Diglett, Shellder, Slowpoke, Aerodactyl, and Skarmory. Those are now out, and also there is Shiny Pokemon. The Rocket Leaders can now have 3 new Shinies. Shadow Growlithe, Shadow Drowsy, and Shadow Ammonite. So new Shiny Shadows. The new Shadow Pokemon that I did for my last video actually came out now, so then you can do that now. And you have the 12k eggs that hatch 5k new eggs. And now the last thing that's really like notable about this event is that you can get a Shadow Mewtwo. So the research that the Rocket event gives you will give you a shiny Mewtwo. So this is the first time, as it says, is the first time Shadow Mewtwo is available in GoFest outside of Giovanni. So if you didn't get the one from GoFest, here's your chance to get a second Shadow Mewtwo. Now, the important thing is that you only have a week to do this event. That's plenty of time, but it's like you have about, I'd say like 6 days and some change from now to like actually do this event. So if you really want to get on it, like you have a week. So if you're working or whatever, you still have plenty of time if you really want to get here and get those new mods. Some of them are really good. We're going to look at them in this analysis. But again, you have like a week, and there's a few things you might want to know, and here's a short summary of them right there. So Pawniard, we're going to look at the 3 new Pokemon that are out. Pawniard is really interesting. It's Dark and Steel. Now, here's the problem. What's Dark and Steel What does Dark and Steel, what are they both weak to? Oh, that's right, fighting. So there's a lot of things in the meta that will punch you in the face. So Pawniard's kind of dangerous to use. There's a lot of fighters and pseudo fighters out there in the GBL meta. So I'd be very careful about using a Pawniard. You do have many resistances though. So you do resist Psychic, a heavy resistance to Psychic, Poison, Dark, Dragon, Flying, Ghost, Grass, Ice, Normal. There's a lot, okay? So you have a lot of resistances. Other than these 3, especially fighting, you have a ton of resistances against the overall meta. So it might actually be worth trying out. Along with that, it kind of has a weird moveset though. You have Fury Cutter, you have Iron Head, and you have X Scissor. You don't even think about using Scratch. Scratch is garbage, don't. So you have Night Slash, you have X Scissor, and you have Iron Head. So you have a very good versatile moveset that you can look at. In my opinion, you're probably going to want to use Iron Head and Night Slash. That's probably the most important moveset because, like, you get stabbed from both of these moves, and Night Slash gives you boost potential. And Fury Cutter just charges fast. The problem with Fury Cutter is you don't get stabbed because Pawniard is not, ironically, it's not a bug type. But that's just the regular version. So its evolved version is Bisharp. That's what we're going to look at next. Poniard itself, really interesting. 1433 at level 40, so then you can max it out, and you can probably use it for Go Battle League as far as like Great League goes. Now, the one we're going to look at more importantly is Bisharp. Bisharp is extremely powerful as far as like stat-wise. It has a pretty balanced high stat pool here, and it maxes out at 2844. So for Ultra League, Bisharp is actually pretty interesting. Here's the problem with Bisharp. It's the same issue. Well, we went over weaknesses, resistance, same thing as Poniard. Now, Bisharp is really interesting because Bisharp has a ton of moves that you can use. More importantly, it has Snarl, and it also has Dark. It has a lot. So it has Snarl. The fact that it has Snarl means it can generate energy quickly, and it has a really interesting move pool. Like I said, it has X-Scissor, Focus Blast, Iron Head, and Dark Pulse. So you have a lot to pick from. So with this move pool, you can actually actually a lot of like things you can do with like Bisharp. It's like pretty ridiculous. Now the problem with that is that you don't really have a lot of none of these moves really cover its weaknesses. So Bisharp has a high attack, so it's somewhat of like a glass cannon, but like I said, it doesn't really have any move that like covers its weaknesses. Fire does resist steel, fighting does resist dark. So that means the only things you really have left here is probably X's or Focus Blast. So it's a really good mon, like as far as like Ultra Masters, but it's really limited for the sheer fact that if you get locked into a fighter, it's gonna suck a lot. And it's just really hard to attain. And Bisharp also costs 75,000 dust. So if you look over here, it maxes out at around level 32, 31 for like Ultra League. So it's a little on the expensive side if you want to use it. It does have a pretty sweet shiny though. So shiny Bisharp is actually pretty cool. It looks like a Power Ranger, so it's actually pretty cool. So that's Poniard in a nutshell. And Bisharp. It's really good, potentially good, but because of like just fighting's heavy presence in GBL, I don't think it's going to be super viable. There are better things out there for like Dark and Steel. Still very good, but like I said, there are still like better things that can be used out there. Alright, candidate number 2 is Vullaby. Now, Vullaby is god-awful. Well, unless there's like a 1000 CP cup, it's not, don't use it for Great League. What makes Vullaby really interesting, or Mandibuzz, you'll see Mandibuzz is when we get to it, is that it's actually really unique. It's a dark flying type, and it has a very weird, its weaknesses and resistances are very strange. So, we're gonna skip to Mandibuzz after this, but Vullaby, as you see, not really great for Great League. I mean, it's usable, it's funny. If you want to use a Vullaby and then use it in, if you want to use it in Great League, go ahead, but the key thing is Mandibuzz. Now, Mandibuzz is a monster. So Mandibuzz is basically like a Great League Umbreon. If you look at its stats, it has high defense, high stamina. It's like very comparable to Umbreon. And it has a very like cool move pool. The problem is it does have a lot of weaknesses. Well, not a lot, but like it's pretty relevant. For example, Bastiodon wrecks your life. Of course, you have Charmers that are here, so Wigglytuff, Clefable, etc. You also have Ice types, so those Abomasnows are going to suck, and Galvantula just became like meta, so Electric is going to suck. With that being said, it still has a ton of resistances that are worthy to look at. For example, you resist Dark, you resist Ghost, you resist Grass. So you resist Umbreons, fellow Mandibuzz. Those Driftlimbs now are going to be scared of you because you effectively wall Driftlim. You effectively, not really wall Driftlim, but like these resistances are pretty hard. You resist the Shadow Balls, and Dark is just amazing. This Confusion User's got nothing on you, and then my boys, not really. Well, that's if they don't, that's like Wishcash. You also resist Grass, of course, because you're a flying type. So the interesting thing about Mandibuzz is that it has an incredibly versatile moveset. It actually has Shadow Ball. So it has Snarl, Dark Pulse, Shadow Ball, and Foul Play. It also has Air Slash and the really god-awful move known as Aerialist. Not saying it's not bad. Aerialist actually has some use. So Mandibuzz is really good. It's going to be meta-relevant pretty quick. And like I said, with that versatile move pool, it's going to be really dangerous. The only problem is you can only get them from 12k eggs as of right now. And they're pretty expensive. 75k dust. And the Great League version is actually around like level 26, 25, 24, 25, somewhat of that. So it's still going to be expensive to power up. Well, anything with a 75k plus all of this is going to be hard to power up, especially from an egg. Now, the thing is, at level, let's see, level 25-ish, level 25 is the maximum, so around, when you hatch it, it's not going to be that bad, because you hatch at level 20, so it's not that expensive overall, but, like, if you caught a fresh one, that's pretty much what I'm talking about. So, Mandibuzz, like I said, really meta-relevant, great move pool, probably the best one out of this entire pool, as far as, like, for Great League. Pawniard's okay. Mandibuzz is amazing. Now let's go on and see what Sandile and Crocodile can do. Alright, now Sandile is downright adorable. Probably the one that's going to cost you most candy because it actually has 2 stages before you reach its final evolution. Really cool, really awkward typing, but like, we'll get to that. So that's Sandile. That's the last one you're going to hatch. Now we're going to move on to Crocodile. Crocodile, he's like all swollen cool, but he's still not great for Great League or like maxes out at it. So your best one is to go for Crocodile. Yeah, Crocodile. So we're going to go on to Crocodile. And then Crocodile is actually really interesting because it maxes out really high. 3046, which means it has some... It's pretty good for like Ultra League. Well, it can be. The reason I say it can be is because its stats are really good. Its stats are good. It's not amazing. But the problem is look at its weakness pool. That's a lot of weaknesses. Because it holds Dark and Ground, you're weak to Grass, Ice, Water, Fighting, Fairy, and Bug. In Ultra League and Ultra Premier, Togekiss wrecks your life. Those X-Slash plus those, even Excavalier, those Pseudo-Fighter counter users are going to wreck your life. And there's a bunch of Tangrowth, Venusaurs, and even, like, Lapras, Swampert, Machamp. You get what I mean, right? It does have some resistances, so you resist Wild Charge users, those Confusion users are going to hate you. You resist Dark, Ghost, Poison, Rock. But these types, other than, like, I'd say Electric and Psychic, aren't really that relevant in Ultra Premier. In Great League, it kind of sucks, too, because all of these types you see here are very viable in Great League, especially Mud Boys. Like, the Rise of Galvantula means meant Swampert. Like, it's just... It can be good, but like overall, it's not super great because of just the meta is basically like molded right now to beat Crocodile in like every league. There's not a lot of things you can like. There are a lot of things you can expect that are going to be really strong against Crocodile. Now Crocodile has a really interesting move pool: Mud Slap, Earthquake, Outrage, Crunch, and with that, it's really interesting. So Mud Slap is a really like well, it's not much shot, so you're not gonna get shots off quickly. But with that, you has farm down potential, but you're probably going to use Snarl more. Snarl generates energy quickly, allows you to get to Earthquake and Crunch and Outrage. Not quick, but you're gonna get there. You'll get there quicker than with Mud Slap. So. It maxes out around, like, for Great League around 29-30. So, like, it's still expensive. Costs 75,000 dust. It's expensive. Yeah, I want it. It has a sweet shiny, though. It has gold glasses, and it looks pretty cool. Like, golden, like, it's a really cool shiny. But overall, Crocodile is probably, like, Pawniard. Pawniard and Crocodile are just really bad just because there's a lot of things in GBL that can check it compared to Mandibuzz and Great League. Now, Mandibuzz, of course, you can't use it in Ultra League, but Crocodile and Pawniard, there's just so many things that, like, check them. It's not really worth... I don't think... They're not obscenely overpowered. Now, I'll do a more in-depth analysis for each of them, but as you see here, like, for overall Great League, Mandibuzz is actually pretty legit. It ranks at number 44, something that can take out both Skarmory and Swampert. So, for Great League, like I said, the most relevant one is probably Mandibuzz for Great League. For Ultra League, Crocodile, unfortunately, Crookie doesn't do much. As you see, ranks at 131. Best used as a closer, not really the greatest thing since sliced bread. Even in Premier Cup, unfortunately. In Premier Cup, Crocodile is arguably worse because, like I said, there's so many things that check Crocodile. Now, Bisharp. Bisharp, we can go regular Ultra League. Bisharp can have play, but this is Bisharp. C108. Biosharp doesn't do well, very well, just because Swampert, Charizard, Lapras, Gyarados, Venusaur. You see a lot of Swamperts, there are potential Charizards, and things like Obstagoon, etc. It does beat Crest, but like, it does beat the BBML, Crest, Articuno, but even then, if you look at the rest of them, not very promising at all. Now for Mirror Cup, it gets worse. 146. Because remember I said there's a lot of things that can check Bisharp and... Yeah, there's just a lot of things that can check it. Charizard, Swampert, Lapras, Galati, Ampros. Those are not even uncommon, those are common. So making Bisharp work in a team would be a nightmare. Yes, you beat Venusaur, Dragonite, Gyarados, Tangrowth, Gengar, so those are relevant as well. However, Bisharp with Snarl doesn't really outpace Swampert. It doesn't bulk Lapras, and its speed. This is a dark type Pokemon that loses. This is a steel type Pokemon that loses to Galati. Steel and dark. This is like the only one that double resists Galati, and Galati can still beat it. That's how nuts it is. I'll be doing a more in-depth analysis for each of these, but in summary, the one that really shines out the most is definitely Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz is the big winner. Another, it's not really big thing, but it's like interesting, is Shadow Mewtwo. Now, if you thought Shadow Mewtwo is going to be a monster in Great League, I'm so sorry, but it's actually really bad. It ranks at 240, and the reason being is because Mewtwo is glassy. Now, because Mewtwo is glassy and has such a high attack, it doesn't end up like being like a high level, nor does it have really the stats to contend in Great League. As you see here, you can be Azuscarp and Galvantula with Shadow Mewtwo. Here's the problem. You lose against everything. You lose against Stunfisk, Altaria, Marowak, Wishcash, Bastiodon. Those are very relevant picks. Yes, Mewtwo can be a monster. There might be an interesting debate about Shadow Mewtwo in Great League. I'll do more into it, but not really promising. Again, like, yeah, it's not super promising. So in summary, it's, as you see the past 3 mons, you probably want Mandibuzz the most. Nothing wrong with getting all 3. Don't forget to get your Shadow Mewtwo. And it's only 6 days long, so make sure you are really diligent about getting all of the quests done before you, or like getting all your mons if you want them. I can probably see an event coming out in the future where Volibee, Crocodile, and its other mons will be out. So I wouldn't stress about not getting them in 12Ks right now. Unless they like lock them into it. But just be safe, I'd rather get them now. And like I said, the one that really like shines the most is probably Mandibuzz. That's just the one you really want is Mandibuzz. That's the biggest one you want. And Mandibuzz might actually be useful for Halloween Cup. Anyways, that's a summary, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. Again, I'll be doing an in-depth analysis on each and every one. So if you're looking for that, it's coming out within the next week. So you can really decide whether or not you want to go hard for these things or not. It's up to you. But again, you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next video.